The first stone always hit the same place. It smacked the left window frame of the strange house on the hill, right where the paint looked newer than the rest. Every night, like a clock, someone aimed for that spot. If the stone missed, another followed, and then another, until the sound of glass trembling and wood cracking echoed through the quiet village. Mina listened without moving. She lay on her thin mattress in the back room, eyes open, breath slow, counting each hit like counting heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. Then the pause. Then the low voices outside, laughing like it was a game. She did not cry. She did not shout. She did not run to the door. Because Mina had learned something important the first week she moved into the house, the attacks were not only about the house. They were about her. The village called the place the Crooked House because it leaned a little to the east, as if it had been pushed and never fully recovered. It sat near the old cedar trees, above the small market road, far enough that nobody passed by unless they chose to. Years ago, no one wanted it. It had been empty long enough that ivy climbed the sides and birds built nests under the roof. Then Mina arrived, alone, carrying 2 bags and a small wooden box that she never let anyone touch. People watched from their doors as she walked up the hill, not looking left or right. She was not tall. She was not loud. Her clothes were plain, her hair tied back, her face calm. She looked like someone trying to be invisible, but her silence made her stand out even more. At first, the village tried polite curiosity. "Where are you from?" a shopkeeper asked. Mina only nodded and bought bread. "Are you staying long?" an old woman asked. Mina gave a small smile and walked away. "Who sold you that house?" a young man asked, bold and mocking. Mina did not answer. Soon curiosity turned into suspicion. Suspicion turned into stories. They said she came because she was hiding. They said she came because she had done something wrong. They said she came because strange people always chose strange places. And the house itself, half leaning, half repaired, made it easy to believe anything. Still, Mina worked. She fixed the roof with her own hands. She replaced broken boards. She painted the front door a deep blue that looked almost black at night. She cleaned the yard and planted small flowers near the steps. She brought water in buckets and stacked wood for the cold season. She did all this while the village watched and whispered. Then the first attack came. A stone hit the window at midnight. Mina sat up in bed and listened. No footsteps came inside. No voices spoke. The stone was like a warning. Like a knock from someone who wanted her to leave without saying it. Mina did not leave. The next night, there were 2 stones. The next, 3. After a week, it became routine. Like an ugly habit, the village refused to stop. One morning, Mina walked down to the market road, carrying a basket. She bought rice, salt, and oil. She moved quickly, eyes down, as if the sun was too bright. That was when she heard the name. "Witch," someone muttered near the fruit stand. Mina stopped for half a second. Not because the word hurt, she had heard worse words in other places, but because she had not expected them to say it out loud. She turned her head slightly and saw a teenage boy, thin and restless, staring at her with a daring look. His name was Rofi. He was known in the village for starting trouble and smiling like it was a joke. He had friends who followed him like shadows, laughing when he laughed. That kind of boy did not fear consequences because someone else always cleaned up the mess. Mina looked at him, calm and quiet. Rofi's smile faltered for a moment, just a crack. Then he lifted his chin and said louder, "Why else would she live up there alone?" A few people nearby pretended not to listen, but their bodies leaned closer. The market was always hungry for a show. Mina picked up her basket and walked away. Behind her, the whispers rose like wind. That evening, the attacks started earlier than usual. At twilight, just as the sky turned purple, the first stone hit. Then another. Then a loud bang against the door, as if someone kicked it. Mina stood in her kitchen, hands on the counter, staring at the blue door. She could see nothing through the small glass window beside it, but she could feel the hate outside, thick like smoke. Mina took a slow breath. She walked to the corner of the room where the small wooden box sat under a cloth. She did not open it. She only rested her fingers on the lid, like touching a promise. "Not yet," she whispered to the air, as if the house itself could hear. Then she went back to the kitchen and lit a lamp. The strange thing was, Mina was not afraid of the boys outside. She was afraid of what would happen if she answered them. She had a reason for silence. Not because she had nothing to say, but because she had too much. The house creaked in the wind. Somewhere above, the roof made a soft snapping sound, like a branch shifting. Mina moved through the rooms with careful steps, checking the windows, locking the back door, making sure the curtains were closed. Her movements were calm, almost practiced. Then, as she passed the front room, she froze. The front room was where she did not spend time. It was the room that faced the hill road, the room with the old fireplace and the faded wallpaper. Mina kept it clean, but empty. No chair. No table. No decoration. Except one thing. A tall cabinet stood against the far wall, covered by a thick cloth. It was there when Mina bought the house. The seller had said nothing about it. Mina had not asked. She had only covered it. Now, the cloth moved. Just slightly, like something underneath had breathed. Mina's chest tightened. She took one step back. The attacks outside grew louder, but in that moment they felt far away. Because inside the house, something was reminding her it existed. Mina walked to the cabinet and pulled the cloth away. The cabinet was old, made of dark wood, with metal corners. It looked like something that belonged in a ship, not a house on a hill. The door had a latch, but Mina had placed a small rope around it, tied in a careful knot. The rope was still tied. So why did the cloth move? Mina put her ear near the cabinet. She listened. At first, nothing. Then a soft sound, like a slow scratch from inside. Not violent, not desperate. Almost patient. Mina swallowed. "No," she said under her breath. "Not tonight." The scratching stopped, as if it understood. Mina stepped away, heart beating faster. She forced herself to look toward the window. Outside, shadows moved in the yard. She saw the outline of 3 boys near the fence. Another 2 near the trees. Rafi's tall shape stood closer than the others, his head lifted like he was proud to lead. A rock hit the door. The sound cracked the air. Mina flinched, then shook herself. She could not let the cabinet distract her. She could not let the past rise when the present was already burning. She went to the sink and filled a cup with water. Her hands were steady again. She drank, slowly, like she could wash fear out of her throat. Then she heard a new sound. Not stone. Not laughter. A soft cry. It was faint, like it came from far away, but it was real. A small, helpless sound that did not match the boys' voices at all. Mina set down the cup and listened harder. There it was again. A cry. From outside. Mina moved to the window and carefully lifted the curtain just a finger's width. The yard was dim, but the moon had risen, turning the grass silver. She scanned the shadows. The boys were still there, but something had changed. They were not laughing. They were moving, shifting, looking down near the fence. Mina saw a small shape on the ground. A child. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6, lying near the broken part of the fence. Her hair was dark and messy. Her shoes were missing. She was curled like she had fallen and could not get back up. The boys looked confused, irritated, like this was not part of their plan. Rafi stepped closer to the child, then stopped. He glanced back at the others, as if asking silently, "What is this?" The child cried again, weak and trembling. Mina's breath caught. She knew that child. Her name was Lila. Lila belonged to the family that lived near the river road, the family that sold milk and kept to themselves. Mina had seen the girl once, peeking from behind her mother's skirt in the market. Big eyes. Thin arms. A face too serious for someone so young. Why was Lila here at night, alone? Mina did not think. She moved. She grabbed her shawl, wrapped it around her shoulders, and went to the back door. She opened it quietly and stepped into the cold air. The hill wind hit her face, sharp and clean. The boys did not see her at first. She moved fast, barefoot on the grass, keeping to the shadows near the side of the house. Her heart pounded, not from fear of the boys, but from fear of what could happen if they touched the child. Even a shove from a careless teenager could break someone small. When Mina reached the fence, her voice cut through the night, firm and clear. Step away. The boys froze like animals caught by a sudden light. Roffy turned first, eyes wide, then narrowing quickly to hide it. Look who finally speaks. Mina ignored him. She knelt beside Lila, her hands gentle. The child's face was pale, her lips trembling. Her knees were scraped. Her small hands were muddy. Mina, Lila whispered, as if she already knew her name, even though they had never spoken. Mina's throat tightened. It's okay, Mina said softly. I'm here. She lifted the child carefully, wrapping the shawl around her. Lila's body was cold, too cold for a child to be outside. Mina held her close. Roffy stepped forward, trying to regain control. What is she doing here? This is your hill. Your weird place. Maybe she came because she heard things. Move, Mina said again, sharper this time. Roffy's friend, a shorter boy with nervous eyes, shifted his feet. Roffy, maybe we should. Roffy silenced him with a look. He pointed at Mina's house. Tell us what's inside. People say you got something in there. Something you're hiding. That's why you won't talk. Mina stood, still holding Lila. This child is hurt. So. Roffy said, trying to sound brave. Take her. But we're not leaving until you tell us the truth. Mina looked at him then, really looked. His face was young, but his eyes carried something ugly. Not pure evil. Not madness. Something worse sometimes, the need to prove power in front of others because he felt small inside. Mina's voice stayed calm. Go home. Roffy scoffed. Make me. For a moment, the air felt like it held its breath. The other boys watched Mina like she was a puzzle. Mina could sense how close things were to breaking, how a single wrong move could turn the night into something the village would never forget. Lila clung to Mina, whispering, Don't let them. Mina's jaw tightened. She took a step backward toward her house. Roffy followed. See, he said, voice rising. She's scared. Why is she scared? What's in that house, Mina? Mina stopped at the front steps. The blue door stood behind her like a silent guard. Her hand touched the doorknob. And from inside, through the wood, she felt it. A faint vibration. Like a heartbeat that was not her own. Mina closed her eyes for half a second. The cabinet. It knew she was outside. It knew someone had come close. It knew something was about to change. Roffy walked right up to the steps, his shoes scraping the stone. His friends stayed near the fence now, uneasy, as if their courage had drained the moment Mina walked out. Roffy leaned forward, staring at Mina's door. He smiled again, but the smile looked forced. I'm going in, he said. Mina's eyes snapped open. No. Roffy reached toward the door. Mina moved faster than anyone expected. With one arm holding Lila close, Mina used her other hand to grab Roffy's wrist. Her grip was strong. Not violent, but solid like iron. Roffy's eyes widened. He tried to pull away, but Mina held him steady. For a second, he looked shocked, like he didn't believe a quiet woman could stop him. Listen to me, Mina said, low but clear. Go home. Now. Roffy's face flushed with anger. You can't tell me. Then the door behind Mina shook. Not a small shake. A heavy thud from inside, like something large had hit the wood. Everyone froze. Even the wind seemed to pause. Roffy stared at the door, his mouth slightly open. What was that? Mina's grip tightened. Leave. Another thud. Harder. The blue door trembled in its frame. Dust fell from the top. The boys near the fence stepped back. One of them whispered, Roffy. Roffy swallowed, suddenly less brave. But pride still pushed him. He yanked his wrist, trying to break free. You're doing that, he said, voice cracking. You're making sounds to scare us. Mina did not answer, because the truth was bigger than fear. Lila started to cry again, louder now. Mina held her tighter. Inside the house, the thudding stopped. Silence. Then a slow, dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor toward the front room. Mina felt her stomach drop. That sound came from the cabinet's direction. She had never heard it move that far. Rafi's eyes darted between Mina and the door. His voice dropped to a whisper, but the anger was still there. Open it. Mina's face went pale. No. Open it. Rafi suddenly shouted, as if yelling could make him brave again. His shout echoed down the hill, loud enough that a few lights flickered on in distant houses. Curtains shifted in windows. People were waking. Mina knew what that meant. Witnesses. If the door opened with the wrong people outside, the village would never stop. If the thing inside was seen in the wrong way, Mina would lose the only chance she had to make things right. Rafi shoved forward. The door handle jerked. Mina turned her shoulder to block him, but she was holding Lila. She couldn't fight with full strength. She could only protect the child and pray the boys would run. Rafi's fingers closed around the handle. And the blue door began to open. Not because Rafi pulled it. Because something inside pushed it. The gap widened by itself, inch by inch, like the house had decided. Cold air poured out of the doorway, colder than the night. A deep smell drifted with it, like old wood, dust, and something sharp that reminded Mina of storms. Rafi stumbled back, his face draining of color. The boys near the fence turned and ran without thinking. One of them tripped, then scrambled up and kept running. Rafi stayed frozen, eyes locked on the dark hallway beyond the door. From inside, a low sound rose, not a growl, not a scream, something quieter, heavier, like a warning spoken in a language the body understood before the mind did. Mina stepped back onto the threshold, her voice trembling for the first time. Please, she said to the darkness, not to Rafi. Not in front of her. The sound stopped. The air held still. Then, slowly, something in the hallway shifted, as if it had heard Mina. And a small, pale light flickered from deeper inside the house, like a lantern being lifted in the dark. Rafi's eyes widened again. His lips moved soundlessly. Mina looked down at Lila, who had stopped crying and was staring at the doorway with wide, tired eyes. Mina, Lila whispered again. What is in your house? Mina swallowed, the answer like a stone in her throat. Before she could speak, footsteps sounded on the hill road. Adults' voices. Shouting. The village was coming. And whatever waited inside the strange house was finally awake. The footsteps grew louder. They came from below the hill, heavy and uneven, mixed with sharp voices and confused shouting. Lantern light bounced against tree trunks and fences as adults rushed upward, pulled from sleep by fear and noise. The hill that had always been quiet now felt crowded and alive. Rafi stumbled backward from the door, his face pale, his breath fast. He looked at Mina, then at the darkness inside the house, then at the approaching lights. I didn't do anything, he muttered, like a child caught too close to trouble. I didn't. Mina did not answer him. She stood in the doorway, 1 foot inside, 1 foot out, holding Lila close. Her heart beat so hard it felt like it might shake her ribs apart. The pale light inside the house flickered again, slow and steady now, like a breathing thing. Behind Mina, inside the hallway, something shifted its weight. Not forward. Not backward. Waiting. Mina, she whispered without turning around. Please. The light dimmed slightly, as if listening. The first adults reached the yard. It was the baker, his hair still messy from sleep. Then the milk seller, breathless and wide-eyed. Then others, some holding sticks, some holding lanterns, some with nothing but fear in their faces. They stopped short when they saw the open door and the unnatural glow inside. What's going on? Someone shouted. Why is her door open? Another demanded. Rafi turned toward them quickly, relief and panic mixing in his voice. Something's in there. I told you all. I told you she was hiding something. The crowd murmured, the sound rising like restless water. Mina stepped forward, away from the doorway just enough to close it behind her. The blue door shut slowly, gently, as if guided by an unseen hand. The latch clicked into place. Silence followed. All eyes turned to Mina. She stood on the steps, shawl wrapped around Lila, hair loose now from moving too fast. Her face was pale, but her back was straight. What happened to the child? The milk seller asked, noticing Lila's scraped knees and bare feet. She wandered up here alone, Mina said. Her voice was calm, but not weak. She fell. The milk seller swore under his breath. Lila, why were you out here? Lila buried her face into Mina's shoulder and said nothing. The baker pointed at the house. What was that noise? People heard it all the way down the road. Before Mina could answer, Rafi spoke again, louder, desperate to control the story. The door opened by itself. Something pushed it from inside. She's been hiding it. A few people gasped. Others frowned. That's nonsense, an older man said, though his grip on his lantern tightened. Mina looked at Rafi, then at the crowd. She took a slow breath. I was not hiding, she said. I was protecting. The word hung in the air. Protecting what? Someone asked. Mina did not answer right away. She looked down at Lila, then back at the faces in front of her. These were not monsters. They were tired, afraid people who had let fear turn into cruelty. But fear, once fed, did not stop easily. She never talked, a woman whispered. She never let anyone inside. And now a child is hurt, another voice said. Mina raised her hand slightly, not in anger, but asking for space. The child is safe. I will take her home. I'll take her, the milk seller said quickly, stepping forward. Lila clung tighter to Mina. It's okay, Mina whispered to her. I'll walk with you. Reluctantly, Lila nodded. Mina stepped down from the porch. The crowd parted, uneasy, watching her like she might disappear if they blinked. As she passed Rafi, he avoided her eyes. You started this, Mina said quietly to him. Rafi flinched. Mina walked down the hill with Lila, the lantern lights following from a distance. No one touched the house. No one dared to throw another stone. That night, the strange house stood silent. But inside, it was not sleeping. Mina stayed with Lila until her parents arrived, frantic and ashamed. The mother cried and thanked Mina again and again. The father avoided Mina's eyes, guilt heavy in his shoulders. When Mina returned to the hill, the crowd had thinned. Only a few remained, whispering. The baker watched her closely. You should explain, he said. People won't stop now. Mina nodded. Tomorrow. She climbed the steps alone and opened the blue door. Inside, the pale light waited. The door closed behind her. Mina leaned against it, her legs suddenly weak. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. The light brightened, then dimmed again. Soon, Mina whispered. Just a little longer. She walked into the front room and faced the cabinet. The cloth lay on the floor now. The rope around the cabinet door was loose. Mina approached slowly. She untied the rope with shaking fingers and opened the door. Inside was not a monster. It was not a weapon. It was a person. A young woman sat inside the cabinet, knees pulled to her chest, skin pale like moonlight. Her hair was white, not from age, but from something deeper, something old. Her eyes glowed faintly, the same pale light that had spilled into the hallway. She looked fragile. She looked tired. She looked afraid. I heard the child, the woman said softly. Her voice was careful, like every word was chosen to avoid harm. I thought they were hurting her. Mina's eyes filled with tears. I promised to keep you hidden. You did, the woman said. But hiding forever was never the plan. Mina sank to the floor in front of her. They are afraid of anything they don't understand. The woman nodded. So was I, once. The woman's name was Ellen. Mina had met her far from this village, in a place even quieter than the hill. Ellen had been weak then, hunted by people who called her dangerous without asking why. Mina had helped her, fed her, listened to her story. Ellen was not human. But she was not what the stories said either. She did not feed on fear. She did not hurt for pleasure. She carried something rare inside her, something people wanted to use or destroy. And Mina had promised to protect her. The village will come, Mina said. They will demand answers. Ellen looked at the cabinet, then at the walls of the house. I won't hide again if it puts children in danger. Mina closed her eyes. If they see you, they will panic. Ellen reached out and gently touched Mina's hand. Her skin was cool, but not cold. Then we tell the truth. Mina laughed bitterly. Truth has never been kind to those who are different. Lies have been worse, Ellen replied. They sat in silence, listening to the house creak around them. Outside, dawn crept closer. The next morning, the village gathered. They came with questions, with fear, with anger that had rested only a few hours. The baker stood near the front. The milk seller held Lila's hand. Rofi stood farther back, arms crossed, pretending not to care. Mina stood on her porch. Behind her, the blue door stood open. I will explain, Mina said. But you must listen. Someone laughed nervously. And if we don't like what we hear? Mina met their eyes. Then you will still hear it. She stepped aside. Ellen stepped into the light. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone screamed. A man dropped his lantern. Ellen stood still, hands visible, eyes soft but glowing. She did not bare teeth. She did not threaten. She simply stood there, real and undeniable. I am not here to harm you, Ellen said. Her voice carried easily, calm and steady. I am here because Mina saved my life. The baker shook his head. That thing moved the door. I did, Ellen said. Because a child was crying. Silence fell. Lila stepped forward, tugging her father's hand. She didn't hurt me. The words were small, but powerful. Ellen knelt slowly, lowering herself to the child's height. Are your knees better? Lila nodded. Mina helped. The milk seller swallowed hard. Fear did not disappear, but it shifted. Questions followed. Angry ones. Confused ones. Ellen answered all of them without raising her voice. She spoke of what she was, and what she was not. She spoke of why she hid. She spoke of what would happen if she was forced to leave. Mina stood beside her, silent support. When the sun climbed higher, the crowd was tired. They did not cheer. They did not forgive. But they did not attack. Not yet. Rofi slipped away before anyone noticed. As the crowd broke apart, whispers followed, but they were quieter now. Less sharp. Ellen looked at Mina. This is only the beginning. Mina nodded. I know. That night, the strange house was not attacked. But lights burned in windows across the village. People watched the hill. And somewhere beyond the trees, someone else was watching too. The village did not sleep that night. No stones flew. No laughter echoed from the hill. But lamps burned behind curtains, and shadows moved where whispers lived. Fear had not vanished. It had only changed shape. Mina stood at the window of the strange house and watched the road below. Ellen sat at the table behind her, hands wrapped around a cup she did not need for warmth. The house felt different now. Lighter, yet more exposed. Like a secret spoken aloud that could never be pulled back. They will decide, Ellen said quietly. They always do, Mina replied. Just before dawn, the wind shifted. It carried a sound Mina had hoped never to hear again. A deep, distant hum, low and steady, like the earth itself was being pressed. Ellen stiffened. They found me, she whispered. Mina turned. Who? The ones who hunt what they don't understand, Ellen said. They followed the pull. The hum grew stronger. Not loud, but heavy. Intentional. Mina felt the truth settle into her bones. That cabinet, she said slowly. It was never just a hiding place. Ellen shook her head. No. This house was built long before either of us came. It was made as a lock. Mina stared at her. A lock for what? Ellen's eyes glowed brighter, not from fear, but from memory. For me. And for what lives inside me. The sun rose pale and weak as figures appeared on the hill road. Not villagers. Strangers in dark coats, faces calm, steps measured. They carried no weapons that could be seen, but Mina felt danger around them like cold air. The village gathered again, slower this time. No shouting. No courage borrowed from darkness. People stood back, watching the strangers approach the strange house with quiet certainty. Rofi was there too, his face tight. Guilt sat on him heavier than fear now. One of the strangers stopped at the base of the hill and looked up. "That house does not belong to you," he called. Mina stepped forward. "It belongs to no one who comes with threats." The man smiled slightly. "She belongs to us." Ellen moved beside Mina, visible and unhidden. Gasps rippled through the villagers again, but no one screamed this time. "You promised safety," Mina said to Ellen under her breath. "And you gave it," Ellen answered. "Now it must be shared." The strangers climbed the hill. The baker stepped forward, surprising everyone. "She hasn't hurt anyone." "That is irrelevant," the stranger replied calmly. "She is not meant to live among you." Mina felt anger rise, sharp and clear. "You don't get to decide who belongs." The stranger's eyes flicked to Mina. "You already tried." He raised his hand. The hum deepened. The house reacted. The ground beneath the strange house trembled. The walls vibrated, not breaking, but responding. Symbols carved deep into the foundation glowed faintly, lines Mina had never noticed until now. The cabinet in the front room burst open, not violently, but fully, revealing its true purpose. It was not a cabinet. It was a seal. Ellen gasped and dropped to her knees. "I didn't want this," she whispered. "I wanted to live quietly." Mina knelt beside her. "Then tell me what to do." Ellen looked up, eyes shining bright as dawn. "The house will protect the village if I let it finish what it was made to do." "And you?" "I won't be able to stay." The villagers heard the truth in her voice. Lila stepped forward again, braver than many adults. "Will you be gone forever?" Ellen smiled sadly. "No one is ever truly gone." The strangers rushed forward. Too late. Ellen placed her hands on the ground. Light surged through the hill, not burning, not violent. Protective. The strange house expanded, not in size, but in presence. The hum turned into a deep pulse that pushed outward, forcing the strangers to stop, to stumble, to retreat. They shouted in anger and disbelief. "This place is sealed," Ellen said, her voice carrying across the hill. "You will not take from it again." The strangers vanished into the trees, defeated not by force, but by refusal. The light faded. The ground stilled. Ellen slumped into Mina's arms, weak but smiling. "It's done," she whispered. "The house will guard this place long after I leave." Mina held her, tears falling freely now. "You saved them." "No," Ellen said. "You did. By choosing to see me." As the sun fully rose, Ellen stood one last time at the threshold of the strange house. She turned to the villagers, to Mina, to Lila. "Fear builds walls," she said. "But kindness builds homes." Then she stepped into the light that only she could see. And she was gone. The strange house settled into stillness. Days passed. No one attacked the house again. The village changed slowly, awkwardly, like learning a new way to breathe. The baker brought bread to Mina's door. The milk seller nodded when he passed. Even Rofi came one evening, eyes down, and left a repaired window frame without saying a word. The cabinet never moved again. Mina stayed. She opened her door. She planted more flowers. And at night, the strange house glowed softly, not as a warning, but as a promise. Because what was inside had changed everything.